And seeing how much we are connected as people, humans and shit. I mean, we try to divide ourselves up in little social groups and shit like that, but we're all the same. Only the names have changed, you know, Bon Jovi. I'm having fun with this one, man.
Roll me, Mac.
What's the most meaningful conversation you've ever had? I believe the most meaningful conversation was one that I had with myself about my own accountability for where my life was, where my life is. And I say that's the most meaningful one because I didn't make room to blame anybody else. It was all solely about what was going on within my own mind, what at the time. And I learned that I had been programmed, whether myself or, my upbringing, I was programmed to look to others to solve my issues and just constantly look for reassurance and validation outside of my own mind. And what I mean by like the most meaningful of it is because it was like a light bulb went off when I was able to use the knowledge that I was soaking up, be it from books, be it from, YouTube lectures, be it from therapy itself, actually going to therapy when I was in Miami, before leaving and moving to Warner Robins. What it did was it made me mature almost instantly because I now got the science of this shit. So I didn't have to look outside of me for the goals and things that I wanted to meet. I no longer wanted to blame my parents. I no longer wanted to blame my family. I no longer wanted to blame friends. I no longer wanted to blame anybody else, but holding myself accountable. Not even blaming me, but just holding myself accountable. Like, okay, whatever you have in life is based off of the decisions that you made. So if you want a better life, then you must make better decisions for yourself. And so it was cool to not have to point elsewhere anymore. And then because I did it for myself, I was able to see it in others when they would do it to me. And that's where I learned to have healthier boundaries for myself. Because as I say all the time, as far as like not allowing someone to project them onto you, not to project them onto you. And I realized how much I was doing that shit. I was solely putting my life, all of my happiness was derived upon everybody that was around me, like a parent to a child. Instead of me just being my own parent, parenting myself, and And when I learned how to do that, life became much more simple. It became simple. A lot of the things that I was looking for enjoyment and excitement became boring because it wasn't, to me, it wasn't real. It was an illusion. There was a lot of things that I was looking to for enjoyment and excitement, be it being the ones to make it to like the club every Friday and Saturday night, believing you're gonna find whatever you feel like you're missing. Be it going to the mall, Dolphin Mall, it's like I said, I'm in my 20s and, living in Miami, going to Dolphin Mall, thinking you're gonna see, you saw a lot of bad ones walking around. That mall stay ready. But thinking that was gonna have something to do with you, it had nothing to do with you. Trying to find whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like these things that disguise as dopamine, be it finding a pretty woman, be it finding a pretty car, be it finding a dope house, and just all the things that essentially really don't mean that much. It's just material things. And that meaningful conversation, man, just knowing that Jim Carrey, I remember Jim Carrey making a statement one time about the ego. The ego will make you think like there's something greater outside yourself, but there is nothing greater than the self. Like it's just you. That's the beauty of it. And trying to build a better life. I look at it now more so for wealth and being able to pass that on. That's what I really want to build. Not so much for the lavish lifestyle, but for the decisions and opportunities and options of creating peace for myself as well as those that I value and those that I love. And yeah, like being able to create, opportunities for peace for myself and those that I value. That's really what the mentality is now. Learning how to save money, realizing what is useful and what's not useful. Don't get me wrong, still get caught up in, a good Amazon scroll, wish list, be loaded, but I put them in wish lists so that I know to not make unnecessary spending, because I used to just put it all in the shopping cart thinking it was gonna run away, and then I'm buying the shit, and then it sits in the house collecting dust. I got a PS5 that I played, I can probably count on maybe two hands. I can say on two hands how many times I've played, like on the PS5, but it was something to have. It was the trending thing, and that's, those are parts of my ego. Where it's like, I want to have that to say that I have that, It also has the latest technology too, and you can attest that to my ego too. But because I'm okay with what I have, it's just about that gratitude. But that meaningful conversation that I had with myself, it allowed me to not look for, like I said, just not turn to anybody else for my problems, not to make my problems anybody else's problems but my own. So once I learned how to do that, I just recognized how much I was trying to be external, trying to be validated externally on so many things. And that's the thing you're not able to control. You're not able to control somebody validating you, but you can control how much you validate yourself. So I would do so many things to try to get attention-seeking behavior. And sometimes it worked. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it worked. But for the most part, you didn't have to. Now you become a slave. Now, when somebody else's happiness, when your happiness is dependent on somebody else's validation, you become a slave to them. And I was a slave, man. I was truly a slave. I wanted to be liked so bad. I wanted to be loved so bad. I wanted to be everything you wanted me to be. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be a people pleaser. I became a chameleon. I could be this person in front of these people. I could be this person in front of these people, and this person in front of these people. And then you do that for so long, you forget who essentially you are. And more so the default of you. And I realized in that moment, and through all of this shit, I never really knew who I was. So I gave myself the opportunity to just do the things that I wanted to do and say fuck everybody else. So I realized that the things I like to do, I mean, I'm constantly creating myself on a daily basis. That's the thing with me now. You know, I don't necessarily say I'm being me. I'm creating me. So each day I try to create me. I mean, me has a love for fashion. Me loves football. Me loves classical music. Me loves instrumentals. Me loves spa. Me loves hip hop. Me loves rock. Me loves jazz. Me love, I sound like fucking Sean Kingston over here. Me love. But I wrestling. You know, I love wrestling. I certainly love like learning as much as I can about psychology and mental health, more so the study of self, emotional intelligence, and seeing how much we are connected as people, humans and shit. I mean, we try to divide ourselves up in little social groups and shit like that, but we're all the same. Only the names have changed, you know, Bon Jovi. I'm having fun with this one, man. But, in all seriousness, like there's so much that we are alike, but we each have our own uniqueness. But one thing that cannot be taken from us is the fact that we're human. And that's what I love about it. I love the fact that, you know, I could have enough ego deaths daily to realize how human I am. And that I don't have to be everything to everyone. I don't have to respond to everybody else's problems. I think that was the issue. I was an attention seeking, and it's where I thought that I had to be responsible for everybody else's problems. But when it came time for me, crickets, you know? So, but that was on me. I made it that way. I thought I did conditional love. I thought if I was there for their problems, then they would be there for mine. That wasn't part of the agreement. They didn't agree to that. That's something I came up with. So it's like remembering to have that accountability, but to be mindful of people's personalities and characters, as far as like the takers and the givers, because takers have no limits. You know what I mean? Givers give, you know, but takers have no fucking limits. They will take as much as you're willing to give. They will take it. So it's like learning to develop healthy boundaries within yourself, within your mind, and be okay with not being liked. Be okay with saying no to people. Be okay with like, that shit ain't for me. I'm not fucking with that. I'm not coming home for Christmas this year. I'm not going to that party. It's all right. You'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? You'll still be human at the end of the day. And, you know, you just value your presence. So that meaningful conversation that I had with myself pretty much spun all of what I just shared with you. So, yeah, the most meaningful conversation I had with myself was learning my own accountability. What's something you're incredibly bad at, but love to do it anyway? I mean, I have a few. So I'm gonna touch on a few of those things. So what I'm in my mind, because I'm still trying to learn it every day, I'm incredibly bad at marketing the show. I mean, I've been doing it for a few years, and, you know, followers is, you know, I got my core. You guys know who you are, and I love each and every one of you for that. But as far as like expanding the show, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that shit. I got to focus more in marketing, and I've had a couple friends trying to, you know, get game about that shit, and just need to take that into consideration and actually execute it. It's not that, you know, you're not listening to them. It's just about executing. You get caught up in routine and shit. But to really sit down and remap, this way of doing things. It very well, I'm the only one holding me back. That's pretty much, just call it that. I'm the only one holding me back. I accept that accountability for it. But, the marketing wise, sure, but I love being able to sit in front of this iPhone 14 that's on that tripod right there, with the lights, so you guys can see my black ass, and this lion background. That background's gonna change too. I gotta wait for my Amazon allowance to come through. I'm sitting kind of tight on on a budget at the moment, but eventually this thing is gonna change too. But I love being able to sit here and just spout out my honest thoughts on various things. It gives me so much joy to do it, because I know that I'm not the only one, and I can speak to the mind who very well could speak to another person's mind, and just having that contagious feeling of positivity, of spirituality, of mindfulness being passed around, maybe for somebody who really wouldn't fuck with it if I didn't say anything about it. I mean, I'm not special by any means, but to have that influence, to know that a person got into psychology, mental health, even spirituality, being in tune with God and the universe, multiple gods, whatever it is that's your thing is, to know that I had an influence on that is the gift that keeps on giving, hands down. And I'll take that over having 1 million followers. That to me is like to save a family. Like when you heal, your family heals, and when your family heals, things can be different. You can do things together. We hold ourselves accountable, and you can be more family oriented, but keep them healthy fucking boundaries. Definitely keep them boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody don't heal at the same speed, so you have to have healthy boundaries. Something that I'm incredibly bad at but enjoy doing, love. Love is something that I would say I'm incredibly bad at it, because I'm learning it every day. So it's like learning from your mistakes, everything, and then learning once I learned that men and women love differently, I certainly was doing it. I was bad at it. What I was doing was not working. And I kept wondering, like, what the fuck was going on? Is it me? Because I'm doing everything she asked me to do. And that's the thing. I was doing what she wanted versus what I wanted, and leading and having her join me in my frame. That's where I was fucking up. And once I got the gist of that, I realized it was going to come with a lot of pushback from a man trying to lead in current society where masculinity is being attacked on a day-to-day basis, but being able to stand firm within that without being a dick though. And it's just understanding that we haven't seen it in a while, so we resist change. I mean, at one point in time, they resisted blacks getting, going to certain restaurants, and you had colored people this and white people that. Now, we're meshed well together. Some of us still don't like each other when we're around each other, but it is what it is. But I mean, it's just about standing firm in what you believe in. And, but yeah, I would say, as far as, like I said, with love, man, I don't always make the best decisions, but I love doing it. And not just love from like intimate relationships, love with family, love with friends, even love with your coworkers and stuff like that. The rapport that you build from one another, you don't always have it right, but is it more so about right or wrong, or is it more about being efficient? And that's why I aim to learn how to be more efficient at what I'm doing. I mean, there's times where I would I'll shut you the fuck out based off of one thing that you would do that was very triggering to me. And imagine if somebody shut me out for one thing. I mean, it all depends on what that one thing is too, let's be clear. But in this case, I'm more so speaking on how it would be like doing something that reminded me of something from childhood. Like, it would be it's just a very triggering act that would occur, and I'd be like, yeah, I can't fuck with that. I got the role. Now it's a little bit more. It's a little bit different. I try to hold I try to hold up healthy boundaries. That way I'm not putting up a wall. I like how Love, she was recently on Breakfast Club. She was talking about like the difference between creating a wall and creating boundaries. Boundaries is something that's like, this is the line that I'm allowing you in. The wall that you create is when you don't let anything fucking in. But healthy boundaries is like, all right, these are the terms. This is what's healthy for me. If indeed you want to engage in such communication, connection with me, this is my boundary right here, okay? When you do not abide by said boundary, I'm going to keep you out. It's more so what's healthier for me, that being efficient with your mental health. And I thought that was a dope kind of explanation of it. And I advise everyone to check out that interview on the Breakfast Club with Ayana. Anytime she speaks, I mean, I'm not gonna call her auntie, I'm gonna call her a mentor. I think that auntie shit is just so overused and cliche. But Ayana, man, she really fucked me up in a great way with the knowledge that she was sharing about healing and recovery, and a man's relationship with his mom, and just the family in general, like all those things. Like, it was her that stated, she had one kid up there. His mom just felt like he was never gonna be shit. Black mom, black son. And she's talking with him, and she says to him, like, you upset with him for not being the man that you wanted him to be, but you never gave him an example to follow of the said man that you have in mind. This is an idea of a man that you have, but you never gave him that example. And I thought that was so profound that she, talked about that. But as I'm rambling and getting back to the fact of talking about love, but that's what kind of helped me just be more efficient with love. Like I said, as much effort as I put into like the mental health and psychology, I'm human at the end of the day. Everything isn't going to be the most efficient, but you can learn from experience. And I'm grateful for every experience when it comes to love, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to whatever. And we're all learning together in those moments. Everybody's being taught something. It is literally class, and throughout school we had class with different people, and eventually, it was time to go to the next grade. Sometimes you didn't have the same people in your class. Sometimes you had different people. Sometimes you had your favorite. You said you had your best friend. You had your favorite classmate in the class. But eventually you move on in life, and that's how life is. Life shifts, man. And a lot of us want to hold on to what life used to be because of how great it felt in those moments with those people. But now we're not always growing together. Sometimes we're growing outward. You know what I mean? We're growing away from each other. Doesn't mean we don't, have the same like love for one another. We just have different goals to where we're gonna go with it. But I just see that I don't have it all figured out. That's what I mean by that, as far as something that's bad but I enjoy doing certainly is love. It's just learning how to love. And in learning how to love, you're going to crack a few fucking eggs, and a lot of them are your own. Fear comes into play, and fear can keep you from feeling love. Fear can keep you from enjoying yourself. Fear can keep you from having peace, and we're all guilty of it. So, I say marketing and love are those are two things that I certainly don't feel like I'm the greatest at doing, but I definitely enjoy doing it. Yeah, what makes me feel alive is that moment right before recording, and I'm sitting there and I'm pondering. Commonly, I get writer's block, or whatever you want to call it. I just get stuck, and then I just allow myself to be in the moment with the camera. That's it, and I'm going to utilize this moment to be therapy for me. Another moment where I feel alive is when I'm in front of a grill, right? When I'm in front of the grill, and because I remember how much I didn't know when I first started to grill, and this is during COVID when I taught myself how to grill, but that moment of like, I'm going to make something out of nothing, and knowing that this is the way that the ancestors, the cavemen and all that, how this is how they pretty much, you created you learn how to manage fire, and it's something that I pride myself on. Parts of being a man is knowing how to manage fire and being able to make, a meal from it. And then there's when the keyboard is in front of me. Yeah, when the keyboard is in front of me, and it's just me, an idea that I have in my head, and I'm able to transfer that from my head to my hands onto the keyboard program, and then we just create magic. But truthfully, those are the things that make me feel alive. Parts of yourself do you still struggle to accept? I struggle to accept that I'm not perfect. And now it's not like a thing I'm consciously doing. That's the subconscious shit of not being perfect. And the beauty of mindfulness is recognizing that it's all right to be imperfect. But I mean, those moments, you have moments where you think like you got it all figured out, and that's ego. Ego all day. Ego is all associated with perfection. I like finding the soul, right? I like finding the soul and sitting in my soulness, or whatever you want to call it, and be like, it's okay. Like, you're fine just right where you are. You're fine right where you are, and you do a lot of great things, man. You do a lot of things that are beneficial for your life. And I say another thing to accept is, struggling to accept is getting older, right? Just not denial or anything. I mean, I'm 40. So it's like life is lifing, and the people that you once looked up to, they're starting to get more grays and shit. They're starting not be able to be as mobile as they once were, and you just remember a time seeing them. Like, it's nothing like watching a lot of your actors that you enjoyed watching as a kid, seeing them age. Like, to see Ferris Bueller, way back in the 80s, and now to see Matthew Broderick, as a grown man. And it's like, man, he's aged over time and stuff like that. Or seeing, Bow Wow's a grown up, got Bow Wow in the damn 30s. He ain't too far behind me, about to be 40. But it's like, you just realize time is moving. And sometimes you get so caught up in your routine, you don't realize that time is passing you by. There's only so many summers that you have left with your family members. Certain family members, all of them really, but you don't really think about that. How many Christmases do you have left with your mom, with your dad, with your brother, with your daughter, with your son, with the dog, and you don't necessarily think about this shit, but they do pose. It's like, the thing that I'm really pissed off about, is it really worth it knowing that I only have but so many summers left? How many Super Bowl parties I have left with my best friend? How many times all these things. It's just struggling to accept that you're getting older and life is going to continue to go, and struggling to accept evolution, technology, like AI takeover. There's so many things that I don't believe some of us take into consideration. Myself, in this situation, you don't really recognize, like, man, things are really changing. Goals, and realizing like your friends, like literally the friends you grew up with, they're almost 50. Like, damn, how long have you been living? What have you been doing? It's about what you've been doing with your time. And sometimes that's a struggle to kind of like accept. And it's not a negative thing. It's just a realization of life and learning to appreciate life for what it is. And it goes by in a flash. I mean, 1 minute you are trying to put your clothes on backwards to go outside and be like crisscross, and then you're trying to figure out mortgage rates and insurance rates for your car, trying to refinance it, figuring out stuff for your kids' life, figuring out stuff for your parents. Like, it's just life's. That's the best way to put it. Life's, and struggling to accept certain goals may not get met, and being okay with that. I mean, I had a goal at one point in time in my life. I was going to play in the NBA. Believe it or not. Like, I was serious about it, but accept it. It's not there. Struggling to accept the fact that your body is not getting any younger, but you can do whatever you can. You can do the best you can to keep it operational and in shape. I'm not able to play basketball the way that I did in my teens and my 20s. Your game has to evolve. It's like Kobe and Michael Jordan. In their 20s, obviously, high flyers. As they age, they move more from the fadeaway. It was more inside. You had an inside paint score. Perimeter. They worked more around the perimeter than they did, dunking and shit. And I think that's what life is really all about. It's just evolving from when you used to be able to dunk. Now you have to be able to have a solid perimeter shot. Still efficient. You might not be able to fly as high, but you can be just as efficient with your shot. So there's just a few things to just kind of like accept when you see, it's just a realization when you see a lot of people that you grew up watching start to pass away, and people around you pass away. To see when friends that you grew up with start to pass away, and what they passed away from. It's common within that age group. So it reminds you of how mortal you are, and how appreciative and how much gratitude that we can have just for living, being able to live, man. It's how interesting to look at realization in life. Like, the 27 Club, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison. I mean, Pac died at what? 25. Biggie at 24. He was about to be 25, I think. Think about, for me being 40 and looking back at 25 was 15 years ago. It just goes by in a flash, man. Like, literally, if 40 feels like this, it really did feel like shit. I graduated, I went to the Air Force, I moved to Miami, I moved to North Carolina, I moved to Miami for, back again, moved to Georgia, now in Jacksonville. And it's like, damn, time, it just felt like it went by in a flash. And then the real reminder is watching your parents get older. Whatever issues y'all might have had, it's just understanding that, man, they're getting older. And I'm not saying to forget whatever might have, occurred between you and not just your parents, but any family member, anybody. But understanding like that gratitude that they're still here. and still able, like them still being here, we're still able to have the conversation. If indeed, whenever that person is mature, both sides are mature enough to kind of talk it out, you know. But being able to have that forgiveness with a healthy boundary. Be mindful now. Just be really mindful. But having that forgiveness to be like, yeah, at one point in time, you projected your pain onto me, but I forgive you. Not for you, but for me. So that I'm not holding on unnecessary grudges. But, you know, I'm not holding on to unnecessary grudges that's going to prevent me from living my life to the fullest. And I mean, a lot of us are holding on to shit, maybe subconsciously, and we might not say it out loud. We might not, some might voice it more than others, and some might not say shit, but you're holding on to this grudge. I believe that. I believe we're holding on to this grudge and we're not able to just kind of forgive. And I think that is a struggle to accept, is forgiveness too. Struggling to forgive others. And because you're waiting for an apology that you're never going to get. And who does that benefit in that predicament? It damn sure doesn't predict me when I'm waiting for an apology from somebody who probably won't ever apologize for it. And it's okay. You know, you're not responsible for what happens to you. You're responsible for how you allow it to affect you. You know, everything needs your permission to offend you. Profound statement that I learned, and I took heed to that for myself. I have to give you permission to piss me off. You cut me off in traffic. Like today, I was coming home from the fucking gym. This motherfucker crossed 3 lanes to turn right in front of me, and indifference. Practice indifference. What good would it be to yell at him? Might be a temporary fix, but it wouldn't solve anything. Indifference. No cars connected, no vehicles connected, no lawsuits, no nothing. Move on. Monitor the fucks you give. Those are those moments that happen where we can decide if we're going to be pissed off at this shit. We can choose to not be offended. And still, I mean, choosing to be offended and knowing when to stand up for yourself is a fine line between that. And if your voice does not matter, then why would you stand up? You know, why voice it? You know what I'm saying? Just remove yourself. When I know that my voice does not matter, I remove myself. When I feel like the things that I value are not taken into consideration, I remove myself. I don't have to indulge in that. I don't have to wait for you to apologize or wait for you to recognize me. I can go somewhere where I'll be valued. So, I mean, like I said, I'm just grateful for lifing and teaching that. But yeah, those struggles, accepting age, perfection, something to think about, right? It's just something to think about. Thank you for listening to me speak this long, if you've stayed this long for the show. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit like, love, care, thumbs down, whatever the option is for Facebook and YouTube. You can thumbs up, thumbs down. Either way, I know that you checked it out. It'll help with the algorithm. Thank you guys for sharing the show, for those of you that do, on your social media pages. Thank you for your comments after the show. As far as like what you felt about the show, it means more to me than you know. And it's taken in the most efficient way, be it constructive criticism or, you know, just praise. I mean, treat it the same way. You know, you live for the cheers, you die by the booze. But accept all moments that happen. You know, you never know which one is going to turn it on. It's a Jim Rohn quote. But I'm Romy Mac. This is Ask Roan YouTube series. Technically Facebook series 2. But I'm out. Good night, kids.